just like that, it's jazz hands.
Right? And it's Wednesday. Once again, man, that went by fast. This whole week went by fast, man. And we're getting closer and closer and closer to the No Name Nationals. What you know where we're at? How many?
I don't have no idea. 280 something, I think.
That's good. It's going to be clicking pretty soon. It's going to be under 200, and we're going to be like, oh my God, where have we got time? So.
Well, in the next few weeks, I will have a roller 63 Buick.
Yes.
Things are getting good. I need to actually combine all this stuff and then put it in the video.
Yes, I will say I've seen some fabrication. It looks awesome. I'm not going to spoil any of it, but it looks awesome. You need to put that on the video because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to dig that.
I don't think I even filmed any of it.
Well, you know what? So what? You can actually just say, "Hey, I made this. This is what I got."
Blam! It's done.
right. Do one of those videos where you throw a bunch of parts, and it hits the ground and all of a sudden
metal, and then all of a ssudden, poof! It's a part. Exactly. I throw a bunch of parts in there that are like, there's no way you could make anything out of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like a glass jar that shatters and some marbles.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is Wednesday night, and we'll start from the top of the list. Danny Boyd was here at 9:15 a.m. waiting for Wednesday Night Tech Talk Live.
Wow.
KS Skyhawk was here, or is here. Colleen Tebow, she's already put up the link for WAF Racing, so go check them out because it is Wednesday Night Tech Talk Live brought to you by WAF Racing.
That's right.
Yep. Fab Race Mod Repeat is here. Hello from the Fab Race Mod Repeat layer. Yeah. Kerosene Cucumber is the greatest name in all of YouTube. Matthew Ward, Lumpy Y5B, One-Eyed Cat, Tom Brown, Val360 Jimmy, Buff Del Campo is here. SSR Performance, evening everyone. Big Block 402, it's time. Paul Pahui, good evening, everyone. Clint Street Machines, hello. Mexican Spec is here. Mean Street Mopar. The One-Eyed Cat is here. And I think that's it. We're caught up.
That's awesome. I got to give a little shout out to SSR Performance. I've been really following their build because, I'm kind of a Mopar guy, just a little bit. And then him just cursing about the Mopars, but just keeps on working on it. But it's getting there and it's looking awesome, dude. I really enjoy it. I think it's
awesome. He started off with something that was worse than what I had. So I mean, yeah, they're humping along pretty good. But in the Midwest, we used to joke that Mopars were the only cars that would rust in the middle of the windshield, and they did not do well in the Midwest at all.
No. I've always said that basically the engines, the transmission, rear end would be there. The whole car just falls apart around them. Literally does.
Well, that's how I've always described the Cummins trucks, right? Yes. You're literally sitting on a chassis going down the road as everything else is falling apart and disintegrated around it.
I have one of those. Literally, I've replaced the dash, the dash cover, everything else except for the engine, and basically that's it. I mean, the transmission twice. Well, this is the number 2. But yeah, literally the whole front suspension, the whole rear suspension, literally is just.
And pretty soon you're going to have a Ford body on that thing.
Negative. Negative. Actually, if I do anything, it's going to be a club cab, like mid 80s Dodge truck, like an 84. I was going to get a 70s one, but I think I want to get like an 84 club cab.
Dude, I think what would be cool is what you do is like your truck is already a quad cab, right?
Yes. So that's what a club cab is.
Right.
In the 80s, yeah.
And what was the first ones that Dodge did that I think was the swept lines that were the quad cabs, right? And I think that's what you should do. If you're going to find a body, find one of those freaking awesome swept line bodies and stick it on there.
Well, you can, but they don't fit as well as like say an 84. In 84, literally the mounts are really damn close. Everything goes on.
Don't look like a swept line.
You're right. It doesn't look like a swept line, but it's still an old truck. Like, cause it's, what do they call it? What is an OBS, right? Old body style, I guess is what it would be for Dodge. It's still a square body. And my very first muscle truck was an 84 Dodge truck with a 440 in it. So that would be kind of cool to go back to something like that,
Or if you could find one of them super bitchin' Ram Chargers from Mexican Spec that was like 4-door Ram Chargers.
Yes. That would be like a Suburban type deal. That would be cool. I would dig that.
Mexican Spec says down here the military used a lot of the 4-door swept lines.
Exactly. That is correct. I did find a lot of those, but they're really beat to shit.
Oh, the other thing is they're 99% slant 6 powered.
Yeah.
Okay, so I grew up near an Air Force base in central Illinois, right? And there was always these odd things running around, like there was an El Camino. It was like a 68 El Camino, I guess was what it was. That had 427 4-speed, but it was the aluminum 427 motor in it. And that was always like the rumor running around on the streets, man. Somebody's going to find this El Camino and just clean everybody's clock because it's a factory hot rod, right?
So Mexican Spec says they don't have 4-door Ram Chargers, but they have the 99 to 2001. So I saw in one of my Dodge forums I'm in, they took a Ram Charger, sliced it, and then put another set of doors in there, and then made their own Suburban out of a Ram Charger. So if I did it, I'd probably do it out of one of those with a newer body style looking thing, like a 2001. I think that'd be kind of cool,
It sure would.
Yeah.
Dizzy Izzy says he posted a video about a new project, 69 Fury.
Nice.
So yeah. And I had a phone call today from Jay from Irish Outlaw Garage. He's got a 68 Buick Electra 225.
Ooh.
So he was looking for set of pistons for it, and I'm like, nah, dude, every 430 I've gotten has always been locked up, and I've had to free it by breaking the pistons out of the block.
So Tom Brown's got something here. He had a 1996. This is for the Triple Crown people, of course. Jeep Grand Cherokee 2-wheel drive coming to the shop today as an impound, no title, a clean body, bad head gasket and engine. Anyone need it? $300. That's a Triple Crown car right there if I've ever seen it.
Well, isn't the Grand Cherokee? That's the full size, the big one.
Yeah, but still, I mean, 2-wheel drive, and it's $300. It's still going to have a straight axle. I mean, it's still going to be a 4-door.
It's not a Cherokee.
Oh,
that's a Grand Cherokee.
Oh, it's a Grand Cherokee. Yes, that's right. You are correct.
Let's see. SSR Performance says, tell Jay he needs to come back this year, Irish Outlaw. Yeah, he does need to come back. And, he was beating me up looking for a set of pistons. And I'm like, dude, those are kind of unobtainium because they're either locked up or people just take them out and throw them away and bore it 30 or 60 over and then put new pistons in it. And I said, best of luck that you're going to have is probably on eBay.
Right.
Yeah, Marketplace or eBay.
That's awesome. I'm actually thinking about making a video this weekend. I think I might actually do it. I believe that it's time to start working on Plan Z again. And the first order of business is I think I'm going to start making a Wendy's tray, oil pan, deep sump, all in one package, and then get that thing together and slam it home and let's make running. Because as of right now, SICK 66 I'm going to be at. So I'm going to take that to No Name Nationals and then go to 666 straight from there. So I got to get it running. I'm going to make some laps in it this year.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
That's a plan.
Yeah. Well, other than that, we don't have a lot of questions tonight.
Yeah.
Chat seems kind of lazy and slow today.
Oh, it's all right, man.
Well, spring is literally around the corner.
Exactly.
And it's about ready to pop. We've had a couple of nice days here, and I've been thrashing, getting stuff done. Andrew Nelson just entered the chat. Good evening from Nivlac or from Team Nivlac 57.
So Tom Brown saying no, it's the small one with the 4-liter auto with a straight tube axle. Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's the regular Cherokee then.
Yeah, but they did have a regular Cherokee 2-door, and they did have a grand version of that, but still the 2-door, but had all the options on it. Because if it was 2-wheel drive, I believe they were just 2 doors.
No, you could get a 2-wheel drive with a 2 or 4-door.
Oh, I see.
That platform was like really awesome because you could virtually get anything you wanted in it.
Yeah.
The one like there's some that came with 4 cylinders. The early ones came with like a 2.5 liter Iron Duke, and then they also had a 2.8 GM V6, and then I think both of those went away in the early 80s, and then it went straight to the 4-liter.
Yeah.
but I think you had a 4-cylinder option. I think it still was the Iron Duke up until like 90 something.
You know what? If anybody's looking for a Triple Crown car, right off the bat, this is one right here, $300. You got to take the ride. You got to go out and get it. I'm not sure where's he located at? Do you know?
He's in North Dakota.
Oh, that's a drive.
Yeah, but for $300, if you only got $300 in fuel, you're only looking at a $600 starter project, and it's already got the straight axle, and it's literally a bolt-in for an 8.8 Ford from an Explorer. So you're saving quite a bit of cash on starting with the right vehicle. This is the one Shane and I always said from the beginning. This is the ringer vehicle.
Yeah,
it really totally is, because you could strip that thing down to make whatever weight you wanted, and just with a basic Gen 3 Hemi, or even that crazy 318 combo we've been telling everybody that they need to run.
Yeah,
it would be a killer.
I'm going to let a little out of the bag here on the Gen 3 Hemi. If you get a 5.7 Eagle engine, so that way it's something that's like 2009 and newer, go get yourself a crank for a 6.4, put it in there, and that right now is 360 cubic inches. So that will work, and you will have an engine that can literally, with that crank, because it's a steel crank, you get pistons and rods for like $1,600. With that head, flows 330 CFM. You have a 600 horsepower capable engine, literally with a camshaft, and you'll have high compression right off the bat, like 12-1. That setup I have done for people, and they've made 600 to 650, depending on where they want to RPM them. They port the heads, they're close to 700 horsepower. And I finally told it, there it is. That's the combination. You put that in that truck right here, this straight axle, and you'll have a vehicle that will literally dominate. And you can move the weight around, because you can add weight to it, right? So you can put 100 pounds back where it needs to be, behind the rear axle. And
all the windows are straight. So Lexan is so easy.
But I don't think you really need to do all that. I think the car's going to
the weight is in the right spot.
Yes,
with windows.
Yes,
that's what's ideal about it, because it's virtually a station wagon. It's a unibody station wagon.
Yes,
really.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing though that nobody's looking at is, you can use the Gen 3 Hemi, you could use a 318, and you could also use a 343 combo that Ron Ward was talking about, AMC, which is like almost like the perfect AMC combo, because it's got a humongous bore and a short stroke and would rev hard.
Yeah,
all you need is some Wally Booth AMC heads, and you're good to go.
Here, Dallas, how many pistons did Jay need?
Needed all 8. I think he ended up breaking all 8 to get them out. And that's, if you've ever looked at a Buick piston, and I know Racer Ray has, all the Buick pistons look like a tractor piston. They're like virtually like an oil can. There is no, just the skirts, and that's it. It's like a tractor piston. It's all the way around. It's very much like a FE Ford.
Yeah. So Tom, are you gonna do a lean sale? Oh, here you go. Dallas said he's gonna send you some pictures tomorrow. Send me some pics too, man, if you got my phone number, because I mean that's $300. I can buy that and put it somewhere and just hold it, because that's like the perfect drag race vehicle.
SSR Performance says, any updates on 650 versus E85 carb? Oh, not versus, VRS E85 carb. I know the bigger versions are available. I need a baby carb.
I can't really comment on that right now. I just can't. But I can't comment on that. I really don't know more than
like the 750 or 850 stuff, and then make
really
one.
Yeah, because look, now I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I can just tell you right now, the only thing I'm going to tell you is that with the other ones, you have a billet of Venturi, where the 650 doesn't. Okay, so it's harder to flow that amount of fuel. Not saying it can't. I'm just saying it's not nearly as easy. So
Tom Brown brings up, okay. First off, Mean Street Mopar says, Professor P, do I have your personal number? When would it be a good time to bring that 318 block for oiling mods?
Oh, I don't know if you have it. I couldn't tell you. If you want, just email me spolito@edelbrock.com, and then that's my work email, and then we'll contact there.
And then Tom Brown brings up a very good point. You could also use Buick engines, because Dauntless. So AMC. I don't know. Are we going to allow that? I guess you have to if it's the proper Jeep, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. At this point, it's kind of like, if there's a claim to be, if someone wants to go through the effort and build a Buick engine to throw in there, I don't see why anyone's going to really.
A Jeep. I always wanted one of those Jeeps, like the 67, 68, 69, and 70 Wagoneers and Cherokees came with the Buick 350. And I always wanted one of those just to tow, right? But finding one that's not a rusted pile outside of California or Arizona is like impossible.
But here's the thing, though. I think I really, they're so narrow compared to your Suburban that I think with the wider track of the Suburban and the longer wheelbase, I think your Suburban's a better tower than that.
Oh, the Suburban is an excellent tower.
Yeah, and my brother, we actually, when my first grandfather passed away, my brother got one of those Jeep Wagoneers, and it was right in that 70 range. It was surprisingly narrow compared to, like, I thought, oh, this thing's gonna be wide. It was 4 or 5 inches narrower than my truck, and it wasn't. Right. It wasn't nearly as long of a wheelbase. And then when he towed my trailer, my open car trailer, like, you could see the whole wheels and some of the frame behind it. It just was so narrow, it didn't look right.
Yeah, well, that's like a 1960s platform, right?
Yeah.
When they came out with that Jeep, it originally had like the Gladiator front end on it. And, nothing really got updated on them all through the run to like 1990. I think they pretty much kept the same body and chassis all the way through like 1990.
Yeah. So, Dizzy's saying he's the third owner on the Fury. Check the video. Give me your thoughts. Yeah. So everyone go out to Dizzy's and go check out his video he's got on the Fury. I mean, I love original like mileage cars. The Beaver has got, I think, 68,000 now original miles on. A car hasn't even hit 70,000. So I don't drive it far because I don't like to drive it on the freeway, but I drive it, to work, which is 11 miles and back, pretty much daily. So
Mean Street Mopar says, Professor P, I sent you my number and you called and talked to me about oiling mods. I just wanted to know if that was a good number to get a hold of you.
Yes, I only have the one phone number. So if that's the one, then yes, then send it on. I've had that. That was my original cell phone number, and that was back when, like, your prefixes, like 858 was like the area code, but the 231, the very first 3 digits were like T-Mobile. So my very first phone number is the same one I had, but that was anything that starts with a 231 is 100% T-Mobile from like 2003. So.
Oh, okay. Mexican Spec said that the Grand Wagoneer lasted through 91. So it's probably, I think it started in 65, if I'm right, or 65, I think.
Yeah. So here's Dizzy's video. Go check it out. Give him some subs.
Let's see. Tom Brown says the Cherokee Chief had wider axles. You can see the difference with the factory fender flares. I had a 68 Cherokee Chief years ago.
Okay. See, things I didn't know about that. I didn't know that the Chief was different.
Yeah, and AMC was always actually pretty good about like a lot of them having like a lot of limited production run cars that were oddities, right? You remember what was that? Like a Pacer with blue jeans in it, with Levi blue jeans and stuff.
It was weird. That's right. It was a weird one.
Yeah. But Mopar did the same kind of stuff. Remember the mod tops?
Yeah, mod tops. Yeah, the featherweight, on like, yeah.
Oh, I remember that
gold duster.
Feather duster.
Yeah, feather duster. Yeah, and the gold duster.
They had like aluminum bumpers from the factory.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it like, man, you take a duster and just take anything that weighs anything out of it, and my God, how light could it get? I mean, those things were only like 2,600 pounds anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Let's see. Oh, Mr. Ron Ward is swung in the chat here, gracing us with his presence.
Oh, yeah.
He says, I may be wrong, but if I remember correctly, the Cherokee Chief was only offered as a 2-door.
See, that's crazy. I'd never even heard of a Cherokee Chief. Where I was at, everything was just a Wagoneer. There, I don't remember ever seeing a Cherokee Chief.
Well, there was two. They had the Wagoneer and then you had the Cherokee. They have different taillights. What's weird is they're both the same company, and it's like they're trying to compete against themselves. I don't understand it, but
yeah, that's weird.
And you could get them both in a 2-door or both in a 4-door, I believe.
Wow. Yeah, he was saying that his Cherokee Chief had 360 with quadra-track lockers. Yeah, the Wagoneer that my grandpa had lockers all the way around it, and it was one of those pull locks, so like you could lock up the front and rear axles with pulls, and it would lock them all together because that thing was it was all-wheel drive, or you would go into a four-wheel lock or four-wheel low.
So Dizzy Izzy says if I can. He's got a lot of typos in here, so bear with me here. Feather Duster is 187 pounds lighter, aluminum bumper brackets, door hinges, and intake manifold.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They had a Slant 6 with aluminum intake manifold?
Yeah, they did sell them. They had porosity issues, but they did sell it. But they didn't really hold up very well because, you have a cast iron exhaust. And then and so they would expand and contract at different rates. I never liked them, and they leaked all the time. They would have to leak
because the expansion rate on that intake manifold versus the cylinder head, and it's only got like those. I don't know what you would call them.
Those sliders, yeah.
They're not really like a good bolt down system, like a V'd intake manifold on a V8.
But then also too, the intake and the exhaust by where the carburetor's at, they're bolted together there. So they're sandwiched together there. So there's no room for it to move this way. So I had one and I sold it because I couldn't get it to stop leaking, even with the Renflex. After so long, it would. So I just went back to a cast iron one. I had no.
Does it have a heat riser and a crossover from the lower exhaust manifold?
Yeah, they have it bolts together. So the exhaust is open to the bottom of the intake, and they have these little pins that hang down, and that's how it heats up.
Mostly old parts. Ron Ward says the Cherokee Chief came with big tires from the factory, something similar to 31 by 10.5, 15 light truck tire. Big Block 402 says the 78 Chief had vacuum lockers. The switch was inside the glove box. It locked all four wheels in, and it would pull. I grew up in my small town, and there was a guy. His name was Ross. He had I want to say like an 84 Grand Cherokee. And it was all-time four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And it got like poop mileage because of that. Like literally like 8 or something.
Also, too, Dizzy saying that they had an aluminum overdrive transmission.
That would have been the 833, the overdrive 833, right? Yeah. Where they changed third and fourth gear.
Yeah, and then aluminum bell housing also. Yeah. Oh, right here. Our Valiant, was it Val Camino?
Yeah, they're making I guess like a Mopar version of the El Camino out of a Valiant. It's one of those aluminum intakes. We have no crossover. It seems to work well.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
I wonder how they're coming along with that because I've actually seen one of those Valiant El Caminos like in Australia.
Yes,
they made those. They're the Utes. Right. And it's kind of like it looks more like a Dart with like a Valiant front end on it.
Yeah, I think with the Valiant, because of the long tail lights on either side, I think it makes it a better Ute or sport utility. But it's after I saw I didn't even know they were building that, and I just kind of was. I watched their lives, that they have, but they're normally in the background, so I kind of barely watch it. One time I was watching, I was like, wait a second, is that like a sport utility? Is that like a Ute? Whatever, like holy crap! Like they're building one. I started researching them, and they those actually came out in Australia like that. So
yeah, I saw one right outside the Watson's Bay Hotel in New South Wales, and it had a hell of a cam in it. It was chopping. I was like, "What is that?" And so I had to go down and look at it, of course, But I was just in awe of the car. Because their cars look like American cars, but they're like different, Like, did you ever play that '90s video game or early 2000s called Driver?
Oh yeah.
And the Driver, they always had like '60s muscle cars because it was set in the '60s, and you were supposed to drive these, these getaway jobs. And like from the side, it looked like a Fairlane. From the front, it would look like a Mercury, and then from the tail lights, it had like Mopar tail lights, and it just it defined a muscle car from the 60s. It was no doubt about it, but you couldn't pick out really what it was. It was just there was enough tweaks done to the graphics on the game, or the car in the game that you couldn't identify it with one make or model.
So Steven's saying that it looks like they're working on 3 Mopar 360s right now, engines, putting one in the Little Brothers Little Red Express so he can tow the Gold Barracuda 2 No-Name Nationals with the Little Red this year. That's awesome. That's awesome. I like that.
Let's see. Buff says it got so cold in the shop, but now back to it. We are using dimensions from an Australian Ute.
Oh, yeah. It looks just like it. It literally, from the back, I'm glad you're doing that because when I was looking them up, like I started Googling them online, yours from the back looks just like that. So I think that's awesome, man.
I'm kind of wondering now, was this a Valiant 4-door?
I think so. Yeah, it's a Valiant 4-door. Yeah, because the doors are the short ones.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask. Did they use the 2-door Valiant doors with the post, or did they use? Because on those Utes in Australia, I believe it was just the front doors.
Yeah. So, but the front
from the 4-door.
Yeah. So with a post, like on that one, like on the 2-door, like on a 4-door, you just use the front ones, and then you have the post, and that post is basically where you would make that wall, and that's what it looks like.
Huh.
Yeah, looks good. I mean, it looks like it was made for that.
Yeah, Mexican spec saying the Australian used the short doors. Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, I was, the GM stuff when they did the El Camino. I don't know how they did on the Fords on the Rancheros, because some years the Ranchero was the Falcon, some years it was the Torino, but GM when they did they used the 2-door doors from like 2-door post car.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was even a post. I think it was the 2-door regular doors, but it had a window that was cut like a
cut. Yes. Yeah. My buddy had an El Camino, and it had that little hidden like area.
Smuggler's Cove.
Yes, that's basically where the spare tire went, is what I was told. But that was basically Smuggler's Cove right there. You put a little door on there, and you could put as much beer as you want in there when you're under 21, and you could get away with it.
Well, that Smuggler's Cove was actually so that's built on a wagon floor, and that Smuggler's Cove is the passenger's footwell, right? That's why it's like that.
I was talking about the one that's behind the seat.
Yeah. It's the passenger's footwell, the rear passenger's footwell for a wagon.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Right? Because the wagon's got a fold down seat.
Okay.
When you fold it down, the lower part of the floor generally gets lower, or the lower part of the seat goes lower. So you can fold the back down on its level. So you can put a 4x8 sheet of plywood in it. But on those El Caminos, it still has the same floor. So they just put that door. If you ever look at the bed of the El Camino, that's like got a front half door that's actually bolted down. And that's just to level it in with the floor. So it's level all the way across, and then it built that Smuggler's Cove because there's really nothing under it. I always wanted to get an El Camino in, like, I really wanted a 78 through 87 El Camino or GMC Caballero. And then I wanted to put like a 78 through 80 Buick Century, like that ugly Buick that I had, the Clarence Cobblepot. I wanted to put his front end on an El Camino because I always thought it would look just totally badass. Awesome. Yeah, the ugly part of those cars was the back, or not the El Camino, but the Century. So you leave all the ugliness on the Century.
So Buff saying the Australian Utes have the short doors. His was a 4-door, so that could be because. Looking at, I only saw a few videos of Buff's and Kim's, but it was just the doors looked short, but it's just a 4-door door. So.
And then Tom Brown says, in his 65 El Camino, he uses the short doors like the wagon. I didn't know that. I always thought I guess the later ones are the ones that you just use the regular, like the G-body ones used the regular 2-door doors.
Yeah, I remember my buddies had a 73. Was it 73 or 74 El Camino? And it almost looked like Chevelle doors that were smaller. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they actually have, I believe they share the same door. It's the window. The window's cut at a bevel. The roof line or the window, the door window is not the same shape.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Ron Ward says that El Camino in Spanish converts into English as car that needs door hinge bushings and pins.
Exactly.
Not the street.
Oh, and Colleen's putting up something. If everyone likes this, hammer the like button for Dallas and Shane. So yeah, thanks. That'd be awesome.
All right.
Oh, Levi's here. Good to see you guys.
Oh, Mexican Spec says that Dr. Art is selling an El Camino right now. Huh. What year El Camino is he selling?
You need to watch Dr. Go? You need to watch some of his shorts and some of his videos that he has. It's all the ice drag racing. Dude, it's really cool, man. You should check that out. I would go up there just to try that out. That would have to be awesome. Oh, and Brooke's here. How you doing, Brooke?
Hey, well, Brooke, ask Dylan when it would be a good time that I bring that intake manifold up there. Look at Ron Ward. Dylan's here. Everybody stop talking about him.
Right. I think about that in a little longer door. Sorry. A Pedal has third gears as OD. Third and fourth shift lever was flopped. That way, fourth was in the third position. OD was in the fourth position.
Yeah, that's the 833. That's what was weird is they put them shift forks in backwards or something.
Yeah. Yes, that's funny. I like that. I'm glad I found it. But yes, Dylan's here. Stop talking about him. Oh, here we go. The El Camino is based on the two-door wagon, so it does have longer doors. Okay. There's not much going on in here as far as questions.
Oh, all right. Well, Brooke is saying that next week, anytime I can swing by there and probably bring that stuff. And I will take you up on that. I'll try to come up there next week. One thing may hang me up. I got to go in for jury duty tomorrow.
I told you how to take care of that, right?
Yeah.
I just don't go. I never got the paper. It was never signed. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen it. Just don't go. Oh, so they're on their way down to sorry, I was just catching up in the chat.
Oh,
so
yeah, they're going to Lights Out.
Yeah, Lights Out. So today I watched a car go 351 at 211 miles an hour today. Just set a radial tire world record. Insane. I was watching that today while it was playing in the background.
That was on Lights Out?
Yeah. And testing. 351 at 211 in the 8th mile. That is insane.
Ooh. Cope's asking, I have a customer with a 302 Coyote motor that he wants to do a Turbo 400 for him. Is the Coyote motor a regular small block Ford bell housing? That I don't know. I think modular might be on its own.
I know a guy that knows that answer, and Cope, I will text it to you tomorrow because I think I know the answer, but I don't want to say it because it might be wrong. But it is not that and Godzilla, they share the same for another engine. But I'll text you tomorrow and I'll let you know.
Mexican Spec saying get a good case. I don't know if I get to choose, do I? So I don't know how long I'm going to even be doing this.
Yeah. Just like I said, go there. I hate everybody. Burn in hell. And then they won't let you They'll say go away.
Yeah, well, they might just say go away anyway. I mean, I got a lot of stuff on my plate at the moment. It's funny how they got me in for jury duty before they got me in for divorce law. You know, let's see. Mostly old parts. Ron Ward says, tech question number 1: where's a good place to buy genuine Holley rebuild kits for antiquated 3310-1 carburetors? Oh man, I'll tell you what. If you're looking for OEM good stuff, probably eBay.
Yeah,
that's where I score stuff like that.
So Dylan Levi said to show this to everyone here. So this is going on right now. So this is a guy on the starting line here.
Oh, I saw that one this morning.
Yeah, just
melted the converter down.
Yeah, just cook that sucker. Yeah, so there you go. Some of the stuff that's happening, but I wish I had that one on video. That was that 351. I mean, that was an amazing. It literally just went and it just kept accelerating. It looked like it was sped up and fast forward, and it was the car just kept raising up and just it was like stink bugs going down the track. It was just amazing.
Let's see. Mean Street Mopar says, is anyone here going to the Indy Swap meet?
I am not. No. Dizzy saying, hey, Cope, gonna be by you up on Friday. Like to stop by your shop. So go.
Okay. Tom Brown says, okay, I need your opinion on a fuel and air density question. Will a lighter gaseous fuel like LPG not fill cylinder after bottom dead center as well as petrol? Body in motion, gas heavier fuel, LPG lighter.
When it's mixed with air, the air now is heavier because there's more of it, and it's just the velocity of the air going in. It's so minuscule for how fast it's going. You're not really going to notice it.
I don't think it makes a difference at all because it's under a vacuum.
Well, it's technically the air. Yeah, it's the air is pushing it in. It creates a low pressure zone. The atmosphere is just slamming in there. So the atmosphere is pushing whatever it is in there. And because it's mixed, like you said, I don't think it makes much of a difference. You can measure it. You can do the math on it, but it's so minuscule at that speed and how quick that's happening. I don't think you'll ever notice it.
So we're getting some awesome. So Mexican Spec says my answers will dictate if you get on the jury. And then Mark Suave here says, go in the interview wearing a T-shirt that says "I hate cops."
Exactly. Perfect. Andrew Nelson, I agree. Ice drags are on my bucket list too. After watching how cool they look, and I think Cope was actually going to take Mr. Haney there to go race it. I saw one of his shorts that he was going to, but it was canceled that day. I would have loved to see that. So I'm down for. I want to go do some of that ice racing. I think that'd be cool.
Let's see. Cope says, Dizzy, are you feeling all right?
Right.
Yeah. So Need Metal says, Dallas, I recently watched one of your old videos on Quadrajet choke adjustment. It was very helpful because I really haven't done much with carbs in the last 20 years. Thanks. No problem, man. Thank you. Thanks for watching it. And that's what it's up there for, is to capture all that information I plan on losing in the next few years when I start getting dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So
no, I know that it's heavier, but the velocity of the air is such that it's going to go in there. And yes, you do have to set the timing because it just burns. It burns slower.
I know down under in Australia, the taxis ran on like LPG, I think.
Yeah.
And they would always backfire a lot, like every now and then, I guess. You didn't really feel it while you're riding in it, but it was like you'd hear them going down the road and they'd pop. And I think that air, because they don't use like a traditional carburetor. This is more or less like an air mixing valve.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And I think what happens is, since that thing doesn't have an accelerator pump, if you give it too much fuel at one time or too much air at one time, it goes lean.
Yeah. You have to slow into them. That was the thing that I did a few of them. I did 2 LPGs on my chassis dyno, And there's another YouTube guy who thought he was going to set the world on fire by running LPG in some dragster, and it was going to burn all the way out there. I've done it, and it's very hard to make power on those. It's a slow build up power, at least when I was doing this, and they were in trucks. And in Southern California, to get up and over the grades, you gotta get into them, and it takes a long time. Well, at that time, the propane was cheap. It was like 70 cents a gallon, but you use a crap ton of it to get up and over the hill. And so I was trying to tune this thing so he could lay into it and get up and over the hill, but it never made the same power as gasoline. Gasoline was so much more powerful.
And you know what's sad is it has like, I want to say it's like 104 or 108 octane.
Yeah, but you couldn't get enough. At least,
well, I think what it is, I think there's just not a very good carburetor for it. Yeah, because I know for a fact, the faster you go, the more screwed up the air mixture gets in the thing.
Yes.
Right. And so that means it's very dependent upon stagnant air. Right.
Yeah.
Because, that also means, I guess, it could be a big gain with force fed air. Well, no, it'd be super lean then. I think it just needs a proper, instead of using that mixing valve, it needs something better.
Yeah. And that's one thing we noticed is the higher the RPM. So like if he went down to second gear, he couldn't get it like 4,000 RPM, 4,500. He'd have to come down to 3,000, and that would slow him way down because he couldn't hold that RPM when he would downshift. So there was, a few things there. Okay. So yes, I was right. Okay. So the Godzilla and the Coyote used the same bell housing. If that's, I figured that was it.
I think the modular falls under there too. It says modular bell housing. So I thought they had a different bell housing bolt pattern.
Yeah, but I wanted to make sure it was the Godzilla as well too. But so
yeah, I think I'll be going to a Turbo 400 here soon.
Good.
Yeah, good in my T-Bird.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, well, it's got to be able to handle some power, and I'm tired of this transmission not handling power.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's why when I built my 904, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it right, and I just built it.
Well, the C4s have been built to the maximum hilt. Remember, I had to take it out, and we took it up to what was it, Dana Sniff?
Yeah, no, I get it, but it's that's an inherent problem with them. But Turbo 400, you'll never have a problem.
Yeah. Okay, so Ron Ward says, Slant Daily Garage, what kind of performance can one expect if switching to 1.6 to 1.7 ratio rockers on a big block Mopar with a mildish cam?
So yes, actually, it's funny you asked this. A 268 cam, I just did this actually yesterday for someone. You get about 6% more area under the curve is what you're going to get. And that's, lift and everything. So are you going to gain 6% more power? I don't know. It does change your duration at 50 by about 2 to 3 degrees, depending on the wheel diameter. So if you're like, say, had, let's just say you had a 750, on your lifter, and then you go to that, it'll actually change it more, but you're just changing the rocker arms themselves. You're looking at about 6%. How much power does that going to equate to? You're getting 6% more area under the curve for the camshaft, so you make a basically 6% larger cam. So that's essentially what you're going to get. It potentially could make 6% more power.
I think I have a logical, some information here.
Okay, what you got?
I bet you that 6% is only 6% at 100% volumetric efficiency.
That is correct.
Right?
Yes.
And now there is points that will be above 100%.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that is
like 110.
Yes. Right in the mid-range is where you're going to sometimes get up to 105, 110, but you typically see that on cars that have a duration an LSA that are tighter, but it tends to fall off faster. So tighter duration camshafts, LSA, will tend to make over 100% for a very short period of time in the mid-range.
Let's see. Vintage Adventure Drive says, I finally bought my first plane ticket. I'm landing in Seattle on March 13th. Dude, you're going to drive that Slant 6 car all the way back, too. Hey, and there's some big wildfires out in Oklahoma right now, and that's where Vintage Adventure Drives is at. But what I did want to bring up here is that, hey man, if you're going to fly, remember you got to have that funky ID thing, right? Isn't there some kind of a real ID thing required to fly?
Yeah. So if you want to know power, if you make 400 horse, just doing simple 6% math, that should make about 424. Now that's at the flywheel. Will it actually do that? That's in a perfect condition, but you typically will see about 6% more power.
And that's only at 100% volumetric efficiency that you're going to get it. So that means it's only probably whatever the power band of the camshaft is. So 2400 to 35 or whatever.
Yeah, in that very small area. Yeah. I don't watch the news much, and I didn't even know there was a bunch of wildfires going on.
Yeah, they had like 70-mile-an-hour winds there.
Wow.
And
so like
it was like fire tornadoes. It was like fire tornadoes, like something caught on fire, and then it just continued to get like worse and worse and worse because the wind was just blowing like crazy.
Yeah. It creates its own like wind, like weather pattern, and that happens in California. Is that because of the mountains there? When the fire happens, it literally sucks in the air and it creates its own weather pattern, and then now you have 70, 80 mile, 100-mile-an-hour winds just fueling that shit.
Your guy just popped in the chat. What's up, Tony?
Oh, Tony.
What's up, suckers?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we're all caught up. Everybody's talked out, and we're 47 minutes in. Well, that's it for tonight. We'll see you later.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. But you know what, Ron? I think I have your I have your phone number here. I'm going to take a picture of this here real quick, and I will text you because I actually have a math program at home, and I will tell you at work. I'll tell you exactly what it will do and what you can gain. And I'm going to take the flash off here, and I'm going to take a picture of that, and I will tell you exactly what you should gain and whatnot, because I've done this a few hundred times. I actually wrote the Excel spreadsheet for that for the customers, customer service people. Dylan, the answer to your question from yesterday is 5x. Okay. Hello, a Mohawk. Mohawk 62's in. Awesome.
Michael Schmidt just got here.
Tech. Bring on the questions.
Yeah, waiting for some questions.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to something on. I can't really talk about it much, but there's something that's going to be cool on my Slant 6 that's going to be in Plan Z. It's a new mixing type of thing, so it's going to be really cool. It's going to be.
I'll show you what I've been working on, what I've worked on.
Yeah, let's show that. I'm telling you, it's awesome. I was happy when I saw that. It was awesome.
Let me pull it up here.
Oh, Clint's in here too. I saw him.
Oh, I should have sent it to Clint because I didn't even send it to Clint. He was the one that he and I was the one that sat around and came up with the idea of this. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it very well. Dang, why is mine always so white and yours is like not white like this?
Because my lights come from the side. I don't put a light in front. It doesn't reflect the light.
Huh. This has something to do with my screen, I'm sure.
Yeah. Clayton's Toolbox says a guy who was supposed to port my heads got hurt, so he couldn't finish them. He's installed bigger valves.
Oh.
Yeah. Send it over to me.
You already got it, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let me finish this up here and I'll show it. I installed bigger intake valves and open up the bowls, but I will have to port them myself. Any porting tips? It's more race. Look, if you've never done it before, I wouldn't do it on your race heads. I would find some scrap ones and start practicing on them, especially if they're aluminum. But typically, I just tell people they've never done it, just open up the bowls, back cut the valves, and then just port match the inlet and the and gasket match that to the intake, that's where I would start first before I'd go like really balls out or find another porter at that point. Let's see here, Mr. Dallas, right here. Here we go. Check it out. You can talk about it.
Oh, all right. That's my mid plate. It's a 1/4-inch plate steel that I cut out with a grinding wheel and hole saw, and then I drilled some holes in it to mount to the bell housing. But since I have a BOP and Chevrolet, what do you call it? The scatter bell. It has multiple bolt patterns on it, so I'm actually using the extra bolt holes that you would normally attach it to the Chevrolet engine, and I threaded those bolt holes. They're 3/8 holes, so I tapped them to 7/16 14, and then I'm threading through them, and I'm using the mid plate to hold it there at the on the bell housing. But then it's got a 1x1 inch steel bar that connects it from frame rail to frame rail, and it will essentially hang the engine. But I made all that. It took me like a week.
So Dylan's saying, tech question, what's the best way to keep track of shock settings? This is exactly what I do. I go down to Walmart and I go get one of those 5-star binders, and it has, paper, then, like a folder area, paper folder. And I have a carburetor section. I have a transmission section. I have an engine section. I have a shock setting section. And then each one of them, I write a date and then my shock settings, and then I'll write down the air temperature, whatnot. So the very next time I go out and race, I have that binder in my trailer. I pull it up and I'm like, oh yeah, here's my last settings. And then I will put I'll put the date and I'll put starting same settings. And then I go out and run it. And if I have to go up or down, I just make the corrections. So the very last entry for that car, that time, is on there. So I know that I went, 3 more clicks for a total of, say, 11 total clicks on rebound, and then compression, I went, whatever. So that way I just keep track of that. And then I also keep track of ride height, and I just write that down. That way that stays in your trailer all the time. And it's really
simple. A pocket stapler and staple your run slip to that sheet.
Yes. And that's what the folder is inside there. I put the run in there and I write the date on it.
Oh, and if you can do that, just write run number whatever on it, and then when you take your notes, write run number whatever.
1. Yep. So that way the date and the run is on there, so you can just go down and you can look at your settings and then have all your 60 foot. And then sometimes I'll put on the other side, if it's a really crappy day, like when we had the No Name Nationals last year, I kept track of my 60 foot and my 330 times. So I couldn't keep my speed there, but my times. So that way I could just see, was I improving or was I not improving? Because sometimes you can't run it out the back door, but you get the first half of the track. We'll tell you everything out the back door.
Let's see. Tom Brown is saying, Dallas, what rear gear ratio is in the 63? 488s.
Wow.
88 gear.
That's going to be awesome, dude. That thing's going to come out of the hole like awesome.
It should.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Question: if a drag and drive car leaves,
not a serious question.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, Tom Brown's turned down the power on the screen brightness. Oh, how do you do that?
Yeah, I run mine really dim.
I wonder how you do screen brightness.
It's usually in settings.
See, I'm so phone retarded. It's like bad.
Do you have an Android or what do you have?
Apple.
See, like if you get to this screen here, see on ours, there's a little.
Yeah, there's a way to get to that screen. I don't remember how you do it.
Usually from the top. Grab the top and pull down.
Oh, let's search on Apple.
Oh. So, Vintage Adventure Drive said, I'm thinking of throwing a 5.0 gear in my Scamp for No Name. It has a manual trans by then, assuming a 20 tire, it'll be at 108 at 6,500. Does that sound like too much gear for a 400? No, absolutely not. That's actually almost like ideal. That would be a 108 by 6,500. I mean, I would say, here's the thing though, is that I would, as long as you have a head that can flow and is still making power at 6,500, you don't want to be on this side of the power band at 6,500. You want to be literally just at the very top of it, just on this side of the parabolic, not way down here. So as long as it's still flowing air at that point, it would be just fine. But 5.0 gear.
Hey, I mean, something isn't adding up here. He must be talking about quarter mile.
No, 108. 108 is about.
No, you know what you got to have to run 108 miles an hour is a 640 car, like 700 horsepower.
Yeah, that's I think is what he's trying to say.
You're going to need it's going to slow down a lot because you're going to need an 850 serted cage in that sucker.
Yeah, 108 miles an hour means you're going to be in the 650s, 640s.
Yeah, you're going to have a fire suit and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, so that's 108 is fast. I'm just telling you. If anything in your scamp with a 400, I mean, that 400 would need to be making close to 600 horse for you to be in that type of 108 miles an hour. I'm just saying that would need to be in that range.
Someone threw money at us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, Vintage Adventure Drives. I'm thinking of throwing a 5.0 gear. Oh, that's the one you just answered.
Yep.
So where is somebody? Oh, Need Metal. Okay. Thanks for the $5, man. He says, I have 2 vets at the shop with small intake gasket leaks. Oh my God. Still run decent though. Your thoughts, acceptable or fix it?
You know what I've done with this? Try to retighten the bolts and try it again with brake cleaner. I've actually had fixed intake leaks on Chevrolets by doing that. Just try to tighten them up a little bit and see if it does it.
Man, I've always said I've only come across this twice. Okay, one was on an Oldsmobile that my dad got, and somebody milled the heads, but they didn't mill the intake manifold to correspond.
Yeah.
Right. And then so he took 2 things and put them together, and he kept messing up and filling the water or the engine full of oil or water. Of course, it's filled with oil, but yeah, he kept filling it with water, and it was due to things like this. Man, I don't know. Shane's right. I would try to tighten the bolts first, and if you can't do that, pull the intake manifold gasket out of it and see if you can find a spot that's not too destroyed.
Yep.
Measure the thickness and go to the parts store, and since it's a Chevrolet, you just buy the one just like 5,000 sticker.
Yep.
Right, and that will generally fix that up.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as there's some crush on that original gasket,
should be fine.
Yeah, you'll see that. Okay, adding 5,000 is going to make a big difference to it.
Yeah, and here's another redneck way that I've actually done it that does work awesome. If you know exactly where the leaks are, let it cool down. Take some was it the right stuff? Pack it into that corner,
right where it's at, and start it up.
Yeah.
It will suck that stuff right in.
Yeah, so let it set up just on the outside, just so it gets tacky. And he's right. Start it up, it pulls it in, shut it back off, and then just let it sit there, and it will fix that. And I've done that before, and it did work.
Yeah.
Vintage Adventure Drive said, my 400 has a 509 purple shaft. Head flows around 280. I have no plans on running 108 9/8 mile. Just top speed for the ride. Okay. With that setup, you're probably going to be at maybe in the 90s as far as where I'm going to say. You're probably going to be 88 to 90 miles an hour with that 509 cam in that car. If I had to guess, I would say 720s, 730s.
Well, so the math on my car, it would be fairly close. I mean, his is going to have a little bit of converter slip in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the math on my 63 Buick with the 488s and a 28-inch tall tire puts it right at the stripe in the quarter mile at 7,000 RPM. Right now, he's going to need to turn pretty much that same. It's going to be more. It'll probably be 7,500.
Yeah, in a quarter mile.
Yeah. In a quarter. Yeah. I always gear, and I'll throw you guys this something out there. I always gear my stuff for quarter mile. And the reason why is if you show up at a quarter mile track and you're geared for the 8th mile, you can't run the quarter mile. But you can run every track with a quarter mile setup.
And that's exactly, I've said the same thing. My car's set up for quarter mile and it just happens to run an 8th mile. But if I go to quarter mile, I can still do it.
Yeah, that's like, it would have been interesting to see what would happen if we would have had 28-10-5 from No Name Nationals happen on a quarter mile track, because there would have been very few of us that could have made it a quarter mile. Right? If I would have had a set of 538s in my T-Bird, it would have been on like Donkey Kong, probably.
Right.
Yeah. 390 gear.
I got 411s. Yeah, I got 411s in the Cookie Monster. Really, when I shift to second gear, I'm not very far from the end of the 8th mile when I get into the getting a drive in that car. It's not close. It's not far from it. 8 corner weights. Got any cheap methods too?
Find a friend with scales is about the cheapest way you're going to do it.
I was just going to say that. Find a friend, just like that.
That's like a 12-pack of beer thing.
Yeah.
Just show up and be like, "Hey, dude, remember that time you said you're going to scale my car for a 12-pack of beer? Well, that's right now."
So, talking shocks, is it a good idea to use a whack pencil marker on the shiny part so you can track shock travel, suspension travel? Is a discussion all itself. Dude, here's the best one. Take a zip tie, put it onto the shock. That way, when you go down, it will move the zip tie to where it's at, and it will leave it right there. I'm telling you, that works bitchin'. I did that when I raced motocross, and I did it. I do that on the Cookie Monster. That way, I can measure where the shocks are going at every time. It works bitchin'. It doesn't help for growing. It only helps for squat style. Just know that. Or nowadays with all the GoPros, just put one underneath and videotape it.
Oh, yeah, you could do that, but that didn't leave a mark where you have an indication of how far it traveled. Yeah. If you're trying to measure the zip tie, like he's saying, is like the best way to go.
It does. It works awesome because it tells you exactly where it's at. And also, too, on my car, at first I was kind of getting them off until I set the preload correctly on my anti-roll bar, and then they were dead even. I called it good. Oh, yeah. I agree. The right stuff is the best, and it did work. And to this day, the thing is perfect. 4 corner weights on the radar is neck.
Okay.
Yeah. 100% on the right stuff patch. Exactly. Yes. Well, here we go.
Said if you have a 5,000 stall converter, what RPM is the best to launch with? 2,500, 5. Never used one before. Never even really raced before. Still building it. Big block with a stout 727 low gears. Okay, if you have, my T-Bird has a 4,800 stall converter, and since I don't have a trans brake, if you don't have a trans brake, you'll have a very hard time capitalizing on all the slippage of the converter.
Absolutely.
Mine has the poor man's trans brake. It's essentially a 2-step on the brake switch. Mm-hmm. And I have it set for 2,500, and I think if I believe it's set at the maximum, because if I go any higher than that, the front brakes won't hold it, because it starts pushing through the converter at like 2,600 RPM. So 2,500 is about all I get out of it. It doesn't matter, because as soon as you let that thing loose, you'll see the converter, you'll see the tachometer still flash up to around 5, and the car will leave. Right? Mm-hmm. It's all you're doing is, I was always taught when you go drag racing, you always taught the drivetrain, right? You take all the slack out of the drivetrain intentionally, so that it's like you're not shocking everything and breaking stuff.
Yeah. So if you have a trans brake here on my car, how I do this is that if it's you're going to have what is called flash stall and then stall. Okay. So let's just say in my car, mine's got a 6,000 stall in the Cookie Monster, but it's a glide, so it's a whole different deal. If the track is crappy, I leave at 5,000 RPM. If the track is good, I leave at 4,000 RPM. Well, that doesn't make sense, Shane. Well, here's the reason: is I get a longer head start at hitting the stall at the flash, which gives me a higher K value, which multiplies more and gives me more down track. The when the track is really crappy, I literally leave off the converter. So that way there is no flash on it. It literally is already up to the max, and I leave right off the converter. I won't even put a two-step in. I literally will put it down to the ground and hold it, and then it just trans brakes it, and it is right off the converter. And then I leave it, and that gives me the softest hit possible. At least this is just with my car. The lower you put that, like on Dallas's car, if he's at 2,500 and he's launching it, he's getting such a ramp into that thing, and he's hitting that stall so hard that his multiplication goes through the roof on that. And that's actually what you're trying to do. And you'll stay on that stall, and you'll gain that K value, and that stator will stay locked for longer as you go out because it's going to flash harder. So
I found it does 60 foot better if I lower the RPM to, like, say 2,100.
Yeah, because you're hitting. Yeah, you're hitting it so higher. So that's actually with mine. Now, I did notice that there's a diminishing returns on mine. That 4,000 is the lowest I can go. If I went to 3,500, it wouldn't get up there fast enough, and it slowed it down, so.
Yeah, and Andrew Nelson's saying here, you have to add your converter slip into your gear ratio RPM calculation.
Yes, it does.
And to figure out your converter slip is actually fairly simple, because you got to remember high gears 1-to-1, right? So if your RPM and your engine doesn't match the RPM of the axle rotation minus your gear ratio, it's essentially what you're looking at right there is the converter slippage.
Yeah, exactly. So usually 7% is considered a good race converter. Anything above that, you're starting to kind of get into sloppy territory. Once you get over 10, it's really sloppy at that point.
I was always told it's 5 to 9% for a converter.
Yeah. Well, that's 9% to me is on the very edge of considering.
I know that sloppy. Any of the converters made today, if you had one going out and custom made, it wouldn't slip at 9%. No, it would not. That's a shitty converter, unless you got some cheapy junk converter made. Like, I'll give you an example. When I first put my T-Bird together, I had the only torque converter I had for it was one I had custom made for a 302 with nitrous. I figured it was going to be fairly low stall. Just slam it in there. Man, just did great burnouts, killer wheel stands. I couldn't run the quarter mile. And it had like a 410 gear in it. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. A 30-inch tall tire, right? So I went to Fontana one day, and I just sat down and mathematically calculated how much slippage there was, and I had 23% slippage on that torque converter.
Crap.
And I took it to Art Car, which is right there, actually in Fontana area, and I had them cut it open. They literally cut it open within 5 minutes. And then they changed the stator in the thing.
Yeah.
Tightened it up. Right. And it still was like probably 18%. And I took it back to him, and he was like, look, you're trying to make, orange juice from apples. That's what he told me. He said, you're to the point now where you need to put the big boy pants on and buy a torque converter made for your application.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, so I've the best converter I've ever had, I've had two. One was the 904 converter that was in the Cookie Monster that had the 3-speed. The second one is this Power Glide one. When it gets up into RPM, as far as mile an hour and RPM, it's about 6 to 7% efficient. And the Continental that I have, the one that's in the 904, that one is 5%, and that is an amazing converter. But yeah, so one was Continental, one was TCI. Those are the two best I had. And the worst one I ever had was 15%, and I was at the March meet, and I should have been going through the traps at 7,000. I was at 7,800 going through the traps at like 130 miles an hour, and I'm just like, what is going on here? I was like basically on the rev limiter. That's how it was. It was terrible.
I was on the rev limiter 1,000-foot mark, and it was just bouncing off the rev limiter the rest of the track.
Same thing, and I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, and then I go back and I look at the recall on it, and it's at 7,800. I'm like, how did I hit 7,800? I look at my mile an hour, and I'm like, things were math in here. And then so that's when I did the math, and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible.
You know what my answer was? My answer was to up the rev limiter. That's what I did.
Yeah, I did the same thing too.
It worked even worse.
Yeah,
because it was like You get
it was more RPM, but no more
first it
mile
just
an hour.
nosed over, and then it was like bop, 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 bop.
Mine just went more RPM, but no more. The mile an hour stayed the same.
The mile an hour is exactly the same. Yep.
Yeah, it just stayed up. So I was just like, oh well, it is what it is. And I ended up. That was actually that when I broke the transmission, I had one of those grinder style trans brakes of mine, and that was the time that I went to the final rounds, and I didn't have a reverse in it. I had to foot brake, even though I had been using a trans brake in the 1060 index class. And that the very next week I called Cope, and that's when I got the number one for the valve body. That was actually that race.
The weekend after I did that testing, I got a well, no, it wasn't the weekend after. It had to be about a month or so, because I called Pro Torque and I got a custom made converter, right? And at the time, Pro Torque was the one everybody was using.
Yeah.
And so I got Pro Torque to make me a custom converter, and I got it and I slammed it in the car, and I went to the that's when I went up to Fontana where I was running with the super gas guys, right? And they wouldn't let me run. They're like, they gave me such a hard time about running. I'm like, oh, fine. I'll just run in the bracket class then. And since it's hard for you guys and everybody's going to get butt hurt, I'll just run in the bracket class. I had 0 time runs. I wrote 990 on the windshield and went 6 rounds. And it was so much fun. I mean, I love just feeding it to them crying bitches. Oh, man. NHRA racers are the biggest bitches, man.
They spend so much money.
They were all crying because it's like, we don't know how to race this guy because he doesn't have a trans brake and a throttle stop. Like, so what?
Yeah, yeah. Vintage Venture Drives. That's exactly where I learned this from. Is from zip ties. I used to race dirt bikes, so that way I could get the suspension set up when I would go through the whoop-de-doos. I would know how close I was to bottoming out, so I knew if I had to change spring rates or rebound. But that's exactly right. And also too, yeah, that's awesome. It's cheap.
So Andrew, I'm sorry.
Oh, Andrew Nelson saying 108 miles an hour. An eighth mile is about a 626 ET. Safety requires would read that you have a 985. Here's the thing, though, is that my car was running about 111 miles an hour for a 626. So sometimes a lot
of that's dependent upon gear ratio and horsepower numbers, and because mine would do the same thing. We were both paired there at Verona as a 620 match race, and you were running like 111 miles an hour, and I was running 108, but I would leave harder
than me. Yeah, exactly. Because you had all that torque. Mine didn't have all that torque. Mine just had all that RPM.
Yep.
So
so KS Gok says, how much would raising the outlet of a 350 Buick exhaust port need before the power increase shows? I have maybe 1/4 of an inch.
Wow.
Is this simply to straighten out the airflow? Okay. So raising your exhaust port is not something new. This comes back from Pro Stock from the 70s. And that's where you would see port plates on Cleveland heads. That's predominantly where you'd see it the most, was port plates on Cleveland heads, raising the exhaust port. When you raise the exhaust port, it straightens out the entire run. Since the the valve is almost straight up and down, the closer to straight up and down you can get on the exhaust port, the more power it makes. Noticeable power, I don't think it takes much at all. 1/4 inch used to be a whole world of difference in Pro Stock. Yeah. And I know Mopars, they come factory with the big high exhaust port on the small blocks.
Yes.
And that's what makes them sound so raspy, is that high exhaust port.
Here's the thing, though, is that if you move it 1/4 inch up on the top, you got to do something on the short side radius, because if that is screaming out the top, you can create an eddy down below. And just by raising that, you don't want to have that big area. You don't want to go from this to this big of an area. If it turns, it could actually impede the airflow then at that point. So whatever you take out on the top, I would actually put some back into the exhaust.
That's where the port plate comes into play. That's what should happen is, all right, like all things considered, you moved it up 1/4 of an inch. What you should do is probably go mill 1/4 of an inch off that exhaust face if you can, and then put a 1/4 inch plate on it. That's the easiest way to fix it. And when you do that, you can actually raise it even a little bit more with the port plate, because you can bring it out an angle 1/4 inch higher. But then at the bottom, you leave the port exactly where it was originally. It should raise everything up 1/4 of an inch, or you could actually bring it up more. A lot of the pro stockers, they used to they would have was it braze weld? They'd braze weld the lower part of the exhaust port, and then like you saying, the short side radius, if you get too much turbulence in there, the short side radius will collapse the whole entire flow plane.
Exactly, and it makes that area even smaller. The higher the velocity, it makes that even smaller at the top, because it just creates a high pressure area there because it gets turbulent inside there.
But I think they used to fill that with brazing rod.
Yeah, I don't remember what they would fill that with.
It can't be aluminum, because it would actually get hot and expand faster than everything else and pop itself out of there.
Yeah. So Michael Schmidt's asking some slack, because I used to race Volkswagens quite a bit. How do you take slack out of a drivetrain on a stick shift? Do you do it with a clutch or add equipment or skill? Here's how I did it. On my Volkswagen, I had a e-brake. I took the button out, and that was my line lock. I didn't have a line lock in the front because there's no weight up there. So what I would do is I would pull up on the e-brake, and that just took all the slack out, and I would let out the clutch just a little bit, just enough to take the slack out, and then I would basically put it to the floor and then just sidestep the clutch. And that's literally what I did in my Volkswagen. And I'm going to be doing that in my 68 Dart. It's got a TKX. Some people use a line lock on the front wheels on that, and then you can basically give it a little bit of a clutch, and that's why you'll see that on the stick shift car, they kind of bump them in like this because that line lock's on there, and then they just floor it to their two-step, dump it, and then release the line lock at the exact same time, and that should take the slack out of it. How are you going to do it? You're going to do it with the line lock on the front wheels? On your shifter? Just hold it with the button, and that way you kind of load up the clutch?
I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
Yeah, it's good. It works good. I've done that for years.
I'm kind of considering, I got a hydraulic clutch, and they got a solenoid that works like a
like a slipper clutch.
No.
It's a trans brake. It works like a trans brake.
It works like a trans brake. And I've been thinking about putting a button on the steering wheel, and it controls the line lock and the clutch.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I'm going to run a two-step yet or not. I really need to get a high side at a minimum, because I'm thinking this thing's going to be pretty easy to over rev, especially if you miss a gear.
Yeah. I would always just get at least a high side one. That's just an engine saver. At that point, we're not built out of money. You know what I mean? For real. If you want to go true nostalgia racing, then yes, that would be great. But we can't afford that. So put something on the high side just in case.
Oh, so Andrew's saying they're seeing 10% slip on torque converters on good converters with the turbo engines, and I think that's probably just because the torque is so high.
Yes,
right.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've only dealt with NA engines. Now the on my turbo, on my nitrous car engine, because it's a really tight converter, so it's really efficient when I'm hitting it with the boost. But with the nitrous, so yeah, 10% on a turbo, yeah, that makes about right. Yeah.
Clayton's Toolbox is saying, can you explain the two-step from a beginner level? I never used one. So a two-step is virtually a dual step RPM limiter is what it is. It's a rev limiter, but you'll have them where, let's say, and generally racers set them up to where they're circumstance based, right? Like, so I got my trans brake activated. Well, that means I only come up on the first rev limiter.
Yeah, it activated when the button is pushed.
Right. And then you still have the high side rev limiter, which is like you're over revving it, like say 7,500. It's pre-programmed into the box. So when it reads 7,500, it starts cutting spark. And that's what a two-step really does. It's just a rev limiter, but it just cuts spark to the cylinders.
Yeah.
So why it's called a two-step is because it has two different rev limiters that are both circumstance based. Okay. One in the instance I gave you, one is set up for engine RPM, and then one's set up for being on the trans brake. That's how they're normally set up. But I don't have a trans brake on my C4. I don't like trans brakes. They're hard on parts because it's just like the stick shift dumping a clutch. I figured my budget was limited, so I didn't need the extra tenth of it's going to give me in the track, and the better reaction time off the Pro Tree. But this setup was a good compromise, where I just set it up on the brake, and once the brake light switch was activated, then it set up my low RPM rev limiter. And
for years, I did exactly what he did. Is I had a button which was a line lock, and then I would basically I would do that on my burnout. Then I would go up and I would have a 2-step button that was on my shifter, and I would hold the brake and I'd put and I would set it. I could go to 2,500 RPM and I could put the car to the floor, but I'm holding the brake and the car's all, torqued up. And as soon as I release the button, it comes off the 2-step, which means the rev limiter, and it's already floored. The point of that, so that way you're not stalling air. So that way your butterflies aren't here. And then all of a sudden you go like this and you get a bunch of pump shot and the air can stall and it goes lean. When your butterflies are already wide open, the Venturis are already going, everything's coming through. When you come off of that, the only thing changing at that point then is the timing. The air is already there, the circuits are already turned on, and it's going to go, and they're usually react faster. By doing that on my car, I picked up 2/10 just by doing that, just because of the 330 times is because the car was already activated. Now Dallas has got fuel injection, so his literally responds instantly compared to like on something like mine. Where I picked up a lot though is when I went to the trans brake, because I picked up that extra 2/10 by doing that. But for the longest time, I literally did that, and it worked beautifully because it was I can just by going down 100 RPM or up 100 RPM, it would really make that car react differently. And by doing that too, is you took all the slack out of it, and it made it made everything in the rear end last forever. I only started breaking stuff when I went to the trans brake, because when you come in and you get to the light and you get in there and then you hit the brake, you hit the trans brake button, you let off the brake and you floor it, the car's going to rock. So if the car rocks forward and you release the button, now you just have slack in everything, and that gets a little bit of a head start and hits. And that's why I had to go to a Ford 9-inch in my car, is just for that reason.
You were saying about the fuel injection. I did so much hokey stuff with that fuel injection because it can be done. Like when it goes up on the 2-step, I got it set up to where the ignition box does the 2-step, but it just activates it in the computer, which it pulls fuel, right? So it'll pull fuel and timing, so it's not putting all that heat in the converter, right? And I could sit there for like a day probably on the 2-step, and it's just when you let that button loose, everything comes on all at once, and all the timing comes in at the same time, and it whacks that converter hard. I kind of wonder if I should have played with that and like try to set it up for 1,700 or 2,000 or 2,100 and see what would happen.
Yeah. So Danny Boyd says exactly what I would do is he would rig up the parking brake release button so that was always pushed, so the e-brake pedal acted like a service brake. Yeah, I've done that too. I've also done it on my Dart, where it's a pull handle. So I had it turned already, so I would hold it and turn like this, and then floor it, and then release this thing really quick. And that was another way to do it.
So Vintage Adventure Drive says, what if I utilize a 2-step to limit RPM while on the clutch?
Yeah, you can do that.
Use it to flat foot shift without over revving engine. That's the whole purpose of the 2-step. If you ever see a 5-liter Mustang that's a manual, goes down the track and they launch and it goes whoop-pow, whoop-pow.
That's exactly what it does.
Yeah, that's the 2-step coming on when they're grabbing the clutch.
And if you do it just right, some of those have a load sensor on those too. So when you push on the clutch, it goes on the 2-step, so you don't need to use the clutch all the way down. You're just hitting it. It goes on the 2-step, which takes power away, which then allows you to shift. You move to the side, and then it comes back on. I did that on my Volkswagen for a while too. It works awesome.
Yeah, or you could just use your high side rev limiter, and it will be fine. You don't have to set it up for the 2-step.
2-step is a 2. Oh yeah, we already went through that. Let's see here, right here, Shane. Who are the PG manufacturers through Edelbrock Group? Okay, we use Icon which is Silverlight. What else is it? They're on one big group.
Isn't it UEM?
Yeah, UEM. That's it. Yeah, they're out of like Nevada or something like that, Arizona. Not Arizona, but then is it Nevada? Reno. I think it's Reno, Nevada. So, but yeah, call them up. They're really good.
Okay. KS Skyhawk saying, I'm not fully picking up what you're putting down about milling the face. There's only quarter inch of meat at the bottom outside to the water jacket. Are you saying take more off the top like an angular cut? No, I'm just saying if you use a 1/4 inch plate that you use to raise the ports up, if it's 1/4 inch thick material, not like where you're moving at 1/4 of an inch, but if it's just 1/4 inch thick material, you can mill that 1/4 of an inch and add that plate on. You don't have to mill down where that water jacket is at. You're just milling the exhaust. It'd be like taking the hair flange that has no tubes on it, and you just mill that space and drop that on, and then you can move the ports up on that. And that's all I'm getting at. That's how they used to do the port plates. So you just take the existing port that's already there and just move it up 1/4 of an inch, and it corrects the low side stuff, like he was saying. And I believe they used to fill it in with brazing rod. That's something that Ron Ward probably knows that, because I'm almost certain they used to use brazing rod on that.
Yeah, because that velocities. That's why on the Chrysler port, the small block Mopars, they look so funky. It's to get around that bolt hole, but the whole exhaust is all done at the very top. The very bottom doesn't really do much at all. And because it just happened to be that little pinch, that's what saves it from having all the problems with the eddy, because it makes the port a little smaller at the bottom. It keeps it big at the top. And that's what makes it work so beautiful.
Well, I figured that, the Mopar small block, that wasn't done by engineering. That was probably all done by accident.
100%.
Yeah, when they changed over from the Polysphere and went to the most cost-effective head casting they could to use the bottom end of that 318 poly, right? Because that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah, and the ports made the engine so much narrower, so that way they could put it into the A bodies. That was the point.
That was the whole idea, was to fit it in the A body.
Yeah, and those exhaust ports are literally parallel for that reason, so that way they could put the exhaust manifolds on there and put it between the strut towers.
I firmly believe that a lot of the stuff that you see, especially in the small blocks, the reason why I say that, or why I say this, is that the small blocks never got the budget for the engineering that the big blocks did. The big blocks is where all the money and all the R&D and all of the best engineers and technicians were thrown at the big block programs to make the big blocks run. The small blocks were just the mom and pop engine, the go to the grocery store, pick up the kids, that kind of stuff. And the small blocks never had the engineering put into them, and were really never focused on for performance until the Trans Am days.
Here's another one too, is that I really think that, look, I'm a Mopar guy, and I'm not just saying this is a Mopar guy, but I really think that the 340, 318, 360s could have really run rings around all the competition except for one problem. They had the block was designed for the poly at a 59-degree lifter angle. It was 11 degrees off of center, right? That is literally its downfall. It's got a taller deck. It's got a longer rod. It has a 1.7 something rod to stroke ratio, shaft mount rockers. It didn't have the best oiling, but it could be modified. But if they didn't just decide, let's put these heads that we're making them so that way we can fit it in this on this block that we already have, and let's fix this lifter angle. If they would have went to a 48-degree lifter angle from the factory, that engine probably would have been the small block Chevrolet that the small block Chevrolet became, as far as everybody using, because it makes power. But that's the main reason why I think it never got the love that it deserves. But to this day, in San Diego, the 340, there was a factory 340 car with a 4-speed in it, and that was like your gatekeeper. And it was very hard to beat that car. It lived in Ramona, and it was a factory TA 340 headed car that was one of those replacement engines with a 4-speed in it, 8 3/4, 391 gears in it, and it literally would run rings around everyone. The car wouldn't be started for 6 months. They would drain the gas, put gas in it. started up on that Friday. They go out racing Friday night. It had been sitting forever. And they would just run rings around these guys in big blocks and everything.
Well, and that was just a process of evolution by cost effectiveness, right? I mean, they were trying to cram the LA engine into the Dart.
Yeah, they've already got a block.
So they were like, well, instead of having big, long exhaust ports on the heads, why don't we just make it in the exhaust manifold, which is genius.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. But what they didn't know was when you put headers on that sucker, it was already a high port race head.
Yeah. And it was sticking straight out. You know what I mean? It was like perfect. It was like, you know.
Yep. It's a high port race head. And, you know, the small blocks, they never got that R&D in them. It wasn't until Trans Am did the big three actually jump on, actually the big four jump on that and engineer some good small blocks. But before that, I mean, if you think about it, the most hairiest small block you ever heard of then at that time was probably like probably a 270 horse 289 Ford. That was about it. And that's because they were in Trans Am already.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So Vintage Adventure Drive says, I was thinking about of a limiter of a clutch being around 5,500 as opposed to 6,500 on the high side limiter.
No, you would want it on your high side because what's going to happen is if you put it down, let's say it's at 5,500, let's say you rev it up to 6,500, you push the clutch in, the rev limiter kicks in, you put it at 5,500, you're going to slow the car down, actually.
Exactly, yeah, because it's still going to have some sort of drive parasitic loss in there. Keep it at 6,500, and that way when you just keep it to the floor and you let the clutch go, it will be at that, and it'll still be wide open and pull it down, and then that's when you're going to get the torque on it. Yeah. I was actually trying to figure this out, and I was reading this a few times. Andrew Nelson says 3 steps are way better to protect your rods. And I think I know what he's talking about. I think he's talking about a 2-step launch, a high side, and then a shifting, I think is what he's talking about. Am I reading that
shifting
wrong?
One? I guess it could be. I mean, if you had 3 limits or 3 switches that are circumstance based, I mean, you could make it whatever you wanted.
Yeah. But also, too, I've always said this before, too. We always say when you're building an engine by the best heads, when you're buying rods, always upgrade your rod bolts. I'm telling you, will love yourself later on because that is the weakest link, and it will not explode going down the track. It will explode when you let off the throttle on the other end because on Power Stroke, when the throttle blades are closed, it's 100% on the rod cap, pulling it down under vacuum, and that's where they're going to blow.
Dust Devil is asking, do you have your 2-step wire through your brake light switch and a second momentary switch? No, I don't have a second momentary switch. I do have a second momentary switch to arm the circuit. And then when I press on the brake pedal, then it's all go. Because see, when you're drag racing at the track, your foot is on the brake only when you're at the lights.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as what I do is I put my foot on the gas, I put my foot on the brake and I hold it tight. And then I put my gas pedal all the way to the floor.
Yep.
And it's the weirdest feeling because you're thinking, oh God, it's going to blow up. But it just sits there and hangs at like, say, 2,500. And like I said, I pulled a lot of the fuel out and a lot of the timing out. And then when I let go of that brake light switch, which is your brake, the whole system then activates.
Yeah. And I've got a 2-step on mine where it's a soft touch. So not only does it cut the ignition, but it pulls back the timing. So instead of it being at, say, 34 degrees total timing and you're just cutting it off so it's farting and banging, it literally pulls back some of the timing. So that way it's not popping so much on the, as far as the advance. It pulls it back. And that's why when you hear my car on the line and I floor it, it just kind of goes at 5,000 is because it's not farting and banging. It's pulling back. And
mine just is like, it's at low RPM. It's like 2,500. So it's like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. I was saying it, I was like, well, that sounds odd, but now I know it's 2,500 RPM. So
yeah, and I got a lot of the fuel pulled out and a lot of the timing pulled out. So it sounds lazier than what it normally would. But
this is a good one here. Go ahead and read this one. This is actually a good way.
I was told by my uncle once to think of an air moving through ports like a river and an open rear diff outside of the bend where tire moves faster than the short side.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
And the faster it moves, the faster it wants to get away from the short side. And if it moves even faster, it starts to curl back in because the air is creating a low pressure zone there.
I was always told all right, when you do port work, and I've never done any port work. I'm not skilled at it. I've never done it. I'm not claiming to have done it or improved anything. Okay. I was always told, imagine all of the airflow is at the top of the port. Okay. Because that's where it generally flows at, like 80 to 90% of the air flows at the top of the port. The top of the port is the longest run. So if you're going to spend any place, like any time smoothing something out, you smooth out the top of the port.
Yep.
The only place that you spend time trying to think of it when you're going around curves, you try to clip the curve at the narrowest point, right?
Yeah.
And you want to do that to your short side. And that's just going to help the air come in from that high velocity point at the top and then clip that turn right into the cylinder. And so that's how you have to picture it. It's that, what is it? The perfect apex turn.
Yeah. You don't want any sharp angles
right. And that's the short side radius.
Yeah.
And that's where it makes the most benefit, is the short side radius, being able to clip that curve, but you got to be able to carry that velocity.
Yeah. So imagine it like this too. You don't want any decreasing angles. So you don't want to keep going like this and then keep decreasing like this. You want to keep it as smooth as possible. And obviously when you get to the throat, because you're going to be making X big down to small, you're going to have a higher velocity. So therefore you can turn it in at that point. But if you start to turn that before the throat, where the higher velocity is at, that's where you're going to start to have problems, and you're actually going to pinch it down. And that's where you're going to, choke it off.
Coming out is the opposite. You want it to come straight out. It takes the quick apex turn on the short side radius and then runs at the top of the port.
And you have thermal expansion too, because remember, that's coming out hot. It's cooling down as it comes out. So it's super expanded, and as it cools down, so you have to track that as it comes out too. And it's still expanding at some point too, depending on your camshaft. Right. And that's when you get in the wave tuning. So oh, look at this, Mr. Dizzy Izzy. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much. No Name Nationals fun. We'll chalk that up for the live that we do at No Name Nationals this year. Me and Shane are going to do our Wednesday night Tech Talk live again from No Name Nationals.
Helps keep the lights on. There you go. Actually, you know what? It doesn't anymore. But thank you. You know what that's going to be for the fund? That's for the fund for food for that day, because WAF Racing, that's a perfect time to say that. They're the ones that bring this to you now. So
yes.
So we're going to have all this money that we have here goes into the fund for either prizes for the Triple Crown, or just, for the food night when we get out there, and trophies, because we make good stuff.
So Dust Devil saying, what about stopping at the big end? Does your two-step come on? Yeah, it probably does, but you're not on the throttle, so you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually just get down to the big end, push on the brakes, and I'm sure the two-step is going off. And then I just turn the corner, and once I get around the corner, I usually turn that priming or the arming switch off.
Yeah, he says it shouldn't matter on the shutdown area. Yeah. Oh, let's see here. Did we get back in here? Yes, exactly. So there's perfect time. WAF Racing. There we go. Thank you. I knew it was there somewhere. And I saw that T's Good Time Garage just rolled in here. So thanks for showing up.
Yeah, well, T is, I want to say T is, 2 hours behind us? So I think they're they're on West Coast time or Mountain time. I think he told me I thought he told me they were a different time zone. I'm pretty certain he did. The last No Name Nationals. So, and so Andrew Nelson's saying the three circumstances for a three-step is launch, shift, and overspeed.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's why I was saying
the shift one, you set it to your own. I guess you would probably want to keep it in the window where the power band is at, because you're only going to be at the top end of the power band, then shift it, bring it back down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever the bottom is your power band.
Yeah, when on my Volkswagen, I was shifting that about 8,500, but my over rev was 95. Remember, this is Volkswagen stuff, but I kept it at about 87. So I would start pulling the shift at 85, and then when I would pull it, it had a T handle on it, and it would hit the button, and it would pull the second gear, and it would just go, da, 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 and I would just step to the side, and then it would hit up, and the car would go back up. But I did the same thing. Yeah.
Hey, well, since things are starting to slow down here,
Yeah.
and we're getting toward the end of the night, question for you.
Sure. What you got?
Should I run an alternator on my 63 Buick?
Absolutely. Car's always faster with an alternator because here and look, my car, every car I've ever had, and I've gone even with my Volkswagen, when I put an alternator on it, it went faster because of the voltage on it, and you're getting amps to the system. It made the ignition run better. It made the fuel pump run better. It made everything work better. In fact, I can tell on my Cookie Monster when I start it up before I go into the burnout box, my car is acting funny until the alternator turns on, and then everything levels right out. I would, and even if you just do a 1-to-1, so that way when you're idling and whatever, and you're doing your burnout, it's not an over. I would always run that.
I have a problem with, not necessarily a problem, but it's just an interesting Buick problem. It's very Buick centric. Okay. There's only one real aftermarket damper, and that's the ATI Super Damper, right? Mm-hmm. It has a Chevy pattern on the front.
Super simple.
Hold on. The Buick pulleys are all recessed. The Chevrolet is the other way. Right. Well, I guess they have a flat one.
Yeah, get a flat one, and then you have a plate in the front, right? Hang your alternator off the plate. That's what I did.
Well, yeah, and I can use the bolt that's already through the plate.
Yeah, and then just get a GM alternator, so that way it just loops back around on itself. So
here's what I was thinking.
Okay,
this is just me thinking. I was looking at it today. I got that electric water pump, the Moroso kit with the 65 Mustang blower motor on it. Okay. And it's nothing special. There's nothing crazy about it. It just runs that water pump. The only other wires to have on the whole car is one to the dual point distributor and one to the solenoid, the starter solenoid. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's like basic, super easy wiring, the whole 9 yards. I thought about start it with the charger on it, right? And then just let the points ignition run off of the battery because it's running at that point. And then the electric water pump, I was thinking about using my drill battery to run that electric water pump.
Yeah, you could totally do that. I just every time I was
one circuit that is pulling on that battery. It's 12 volts and it's resisted down to 9.
I love them because that way I don't have to get back, put a charger on it. I'm charging as I'm driving back up to the lanes. It's charging back up, right? And I shut it off. And if I'm running my electric water pump, my electric fans, you'll see that I turn my other, I'll turn my charger on. But other than that, you don't see me charging my car because I don't have to. And that's just one less thing I have to do.
Right. I'm just looking at this kind of like 1963 old school setup where it's the Moroso electric water pump that runs a flexi fan.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And that's it. Right. Like, and I thought just to run that off of a drill battery and you're just taking the handle off of a broken tool and you're screwing it down somewhere and put the battery in it, run the wires and put it on a switch. And it's its own circuit. And you just replace the battery. But that drill battery would last a while.
Yeah, it would last a while. I mean, with a points ignition, you probably wouldn't gain much on it. It's just that for me, I just like an alternator because I just don't want to have to worry about charging the car. That's it. That's it. And mine was always more consistent. Whenever I was bracket racing, mine was more consistent with that. And when I was that way I could get up to the lanes and I could leave my water pump on and my fans on. And that way when I would start up, and especially at the March meet, because you're on Sunday, you're going rounds. You don't have time for that. I'm just all about it. That's just me. And especially with the plate in the front, you can hang that alternator really low and hang it on the back side of it and then have a flat.
It was more or less the bracket situation that I was thinking of, or the pulley and bracket situation, because I don't have brackets or pulleys to work with this combination. It's something that I'm just going to come up with.
Simple.
Right?
Just right off the motor plate.
I do have that Moroso large pulley for the alternator.
Yep.
And then I can probably run a Chevrolet flat pulley that they use on the early engines.
Yeah.
Because it's a 3-bolt, right? In the Chevrolet is a 3-bolt, right?
That's right. Yep, exactly.
And that's what I was like, man, none of my Buick, I mean, there's 6-bolt, but they probably will bolt up to that 3-bolt.
Yeah, and then
break them.
Especially if you put it like on your plate, the Chevrolet's got the 1 bolt that goes right through, so you hold that, and then down below, what I did is I got a rod link, and then I bent a rod around with a rod link here, so that way you could adjust it up and down to tighten the belt. And I ran the belt rather loose, so that way it was just at high RPM.
It would slip.
It would slip. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So,
where did I see this at here? Andrew Nelson was saying something. He was saying something, or you could do like, burnout, launch or whatever. I've never ran a rev limiter and a burnout. I just control it with my foot. I've never ran have you ever do you run a rev limiter in your burnout or no?
Not really. Sometimes I'll get a little overzealous and it'll hit the high side rev limiter on the burnout.
Yeah. So he says, launch, burnout, and overspeed. I've never done that. Maybe I should, but I just never have. Maybe that day when I was at that car show, I should have had one.
Oh, dude, that was it was epic though.
Yeah, right.
That video popped up the other day on Facebook for me. Like maybe it was like your memory or something.
Yeah, it was.
That video doesn't do it justice.
It doesn't.
It was so epic just to see it. I was like, wow, I'm gonna get my doors caved in. Then it just started slowing down, and it's like, this ain't good, dude. This is generally like destruction of an engine kind of stuff.
Yeah. I was actually, when we were sitting there on that last race, remember the guy oiled down the track before we went up there?
Uh-huh.
I was sitting there just going, man, everything's still running. I know there's something wrong with this car. I could literally put it on the trailer and drive home. I said, but I'm going to give Dallas his race. I know he's going to beat me on this because my car is slowing down and I don't know what's going on. But I was like, he's here. I'm going to give him his race. And I still went down the track.
Every now and then, like the memory will show up on my Facebook where it's that really killer video that they made from that thing that had the Disturbed Sickness song, but it was like all technoed up. So it was like, whoa. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that comes up on there. And every time I see that intro video or whatever, it always shows the guy with the camera comes up on my T-Bird as I'm rolling through the water box. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if I found the link for that actual video, you and I were the second pair up there.
Yes.
And the very first pair oiled the track and like all the way down.
Yep.
And it's July in San Diego.
It's warm.
We're on top of the mountain. It's like 114 degrees. I got the windows rolled up because they're fixed in an up position on my T-Bird with all the safety stuff that you have on. Yeah. And that's where you start thinking, is the faster car really better? Because you look behind you and there's a guy running 920s in the 8th mile. He's got the air conditioner on. His hair is blowing in the wind coming off the dash while you're turning into a pile of goo sitting in a seat that's about as uncomfortable as they get, right?
Yes. Yep.
And you start thinking, rethinking your life. Like, this might not have been the best decision, And
I've run an alternator
for like an hour.
Yeah, I've run an alternator also too because I have some creature comforts in mine.
Yeah, well, you got that fan.
I got a fan in there that hooks to the vent, so that way it pulls outside air in, and then when I do my burnout, I turn it on and it puts positive pressure inside there, so that it keeps the smoke out. So it helps push the smoke out.
I'll tell you how hot it was for me that day because I have that guy worked, Stu. He was up there helping me, right? And that was a pretty hectic day, and I was sitting inside the car and Stu came running up and he's like, hey, he opens up the door and I opened just the eye shield, right? And it's like 40 degrees cooler immediately across my face. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so hot here. And he's like, can I get you something? I said, I need like 3 bottles of water, right? And he's like, I'll be right back, dude. And by the time he got back, we'd already ran.
Yeah.
But Um, I just remember that, like that dude with the camera getting that sweet swipe up the side of my T-Bird as I'm rolling in the water box.
Yes,
right.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And that was me and you sitting there for an hour.
Yeah.
And,
melting as we're going in.
I know.
Eyes stinging from salt.
That's what it always takes me back to, is that right there. Like, God, man, go figure. It's me and Shane. The sad part was, it was like, that would have been 2 and done or 3 and done.
Yeah.
And we had to sit there and wait an hour for the 7 seconds. Right.
Right. So Racer's asking, do you run the electric fans on the track or cut them off? No, I actually, I usually go into, when I go into the staging lanes, I'm at about 120 degrees. I'll start the car up. I go into the burnout box. When I come back out, just leave the electric water pump on. Sometimes I'll run the fans in the burnout box, but the ideal temperature is I want to go in at about 150 degrees as I'm going into the staging lights. That's where my car seems to be the most consistent. And then I'll turn the fans off. I turn everything else on that's going to go down the track. And then as soon as I go through the beams, I flip on the fans and then I get off the track. And then usually I'm at about just under 200 degrees as I'm circling off the track. And then it comes right back down to 180 as I'm going back up to the car. But I just run the water pump on that. But find a temperature. And the reason why I go in at 150, because I know that after I do the burnout and I come back up, the temperature is going to be warming up fast. And then I usually want to have, since I run a diaper, my oil temperature is already hot. And I can tell that by the idle, and the oil actually starts to bounce, right at that, like, say, 30 mark. If it's not bouncing, the oil's not hot enough, and its car's going to be slower. And I run 1040 in the thing right now. Or is it 2050? No, I think it was 1040 in that one. So yeah, that's how I do it. But find what works on your car and stay consistent with that.
I always cut the fans. I always cut the fans for the run. I shut everything off that's electrical that I don't need to go down the track, because I want the ignition system to have, and the fuel pumps to have, all the juice.
Yep.
And I have my T-Bird is 130 amp, no, 200 amp, 180 maybe. It's a huge amperage alternator off of it's a 3G Ford, but with a small pulley on it. So, and the regular size crank pulley. So it's spinning pretty hard, but it gets a workout because it'll drain the battery in that one run, because it's got 2 fuel pumps and electric water pump. But I shut all that stuff off for the pass. And that's one thing I'm actually wondering here, because Vintage Adventure Drive said, I can say that the Moroso water pump drive kit did not work on my car. The Scamp would overheat like crazy with that setup. If you're trying to drive down the street with that, that's not going to work.
No.
But I'm trying to think, because my T-Bird has a Mazir, and it's a nice water pump. And you just turn it on, and the car cools off quick.
Instantly,
But what I do is I go up to the line. You got to start it 3 or 4 times. I don't even run any of that stuff until I get down to the end of the track. That's when I turn it all on.
You don't turn the water pump on? The water pump?
Yeah, the water pump. Okay, I don't turn it on when I'm like, because I'm telling you, I want all the juice going, because I got 2 fuel pumps. If I had 2 fuel pumps, the water pump, the electric fan would come on. It's automatically comes on just based on temperature.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why also a reason why I don't like to circulate water, because it's got that old Flex light with the thermostatic switch on it, and it will come on, and you can watch the battery gauge just plummet when that thing comes on.
Yeah. So I have a GM. I have an alternator out of a Cadillac. It's like a late. It's like an 80s Cadillac. It's 170 amp or 180 amp, alternator that I adapted. But mine's got a miniature pulley on the crank, but stock size pulley. Now, when I say stock size, I found the biggest stock size pulley I could find. Going through ones, but it's not as big as the Moroso one, but it's not much smaller. But it's enough that when the car's idling, I can rev it up and it will still charge at idle. And that's exactly what I wanted. My car idles at about 1,300 RPM. I think the alternator is at about 2,100 when it's at that. I think that's the math on it. But it will charge at that point. But I have an A1000 pump on it that's, brushless. And then I'm running my ignition system and a water pump when I go down the track. So, and it's at 14 volts when I'm going down the track too. So it runs good.
John saying Tony Christian used to run an alternator off the rear pinion of his race cars because he said the electronics that ran his nitrous were never happy without it.
Agreed.
They don't like when you have a voltage spike that drops below
10.
pretty much 5 volts. Any logic circuit, just a logic circuit will not function below 5 volts.
Yeah,
right. That's how they work. Now, I'm thinking that if it's a mechanical circuit where it's like a motor running something, or an ignition system that's a high energy piece, I've seen them. An MSD box won't even work below 10 volts.
That's my car will shut off at 10 volts because I have a digital 6 in mine. And then the electronics, I forgot this, my nitrous system, my computer for my nitrous system at 10 volts, it shuts off, and my solenoids don't fire as fast with the Hertz. It just won't fire. So I agree with that, because that's the reason why my car is just more consistent with an alternator. People are like, well, that's drag and that's whatever. Yeah, but the car is always going to run the same. And that way I know my tune-up was going to work, not dependent on voltage, but dependent on the car running as far as the tune-up. Oh, yeah. He says that T-Bird burnout is on the Friday Night Live intro for a reason.
Well, I do like to get overzealous on the burnouts.
Yeah,
I do believe that the burnouts and the dry hops and the big wheel stands is what makes people on the fence enjoy the car. Right?
Every year, I've done a half-track burnout pretty much every year that the Cookie Monster's been there. I've done a half-track burnout for a reason. They want to come and see the car. They want to see things happen. Let's give them a show. Man,
well, the first year you did that, dude, you were like, hey, man, you're going to be you want to see me run up there. And I'm like, oh, yeah. He's like, John Force, eat your heart out, right?
Right. I just let her eat. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to turn this thing up. I want to put it in drive. I'm going to hold about 6,500 RPM, and I'm just going to keep going. And as long as it's spinning, I'm going to keep going. As soon as it starts to grab traction, I'm going to let off. So,
I plan on doing some. I'll be doing some burnouts and some dry hops this year. This Buick will be done enough to be at No Name Nationals. Even if I have to have a Bluetooth quarter panel, it'll be there. Because I don't think there's any rules saying that you have to have a quarter panel.
Right.
Yeah. Sure. Or both of them.
We've only got a few more minutes left, man. So you're going to have a video. Do you think you'll have a video this weekend?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I have my son all week. And then I have probably 3.5 hours of footage, right, that I could literally splice together in a video to show everybody where I'm standing at, what I'm doing and what I'm working on and how things are coming out.
I think you should make 2 videos. One, edited version, and then another video of literally 3 hours of just do a video dump and put it out there for people if they want to watch A to B for everything.
Well, I don't have all of it, but there's just sometimes I'll be like, oh, I should shoot a video on this. And sometimes I'm like, F a video. I don't have time to put up the camera and then babysit charging it and all that stuff. That I'd rather just work and turn my brain off. So, but other than that, I will probably make a video here soon. I need to, because my people are forgetting who I am. I haven't made a video in so long.
Right. Me too, man. I haven't done one since Six Monkeys. I literally just, I came back from that. I was burnt out on them. I was like, I'm just going to take a break. And that's like 4 months ago, man. I was like, man, it's been 4 months.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're out of here. I got to take a leak like something serious.
Yeah. So, I'm going to get this one real quick. I think Dallas and I are going to have a couple fun cars to watch. I plan on doing dry hops on every pass. That's awesome. And on that, you guys take it easy. We'll see you guys next week.
And he's not lying. If you guys go back and watch the No Name Nationals videos, there was one dude only that was just, he was John forcing it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't forget to go see Mr. Wilburn on his channel, 7 Central on Mr. John Wilburn on Friday nights. With that, we'll take it easy, guys. See you guys next week.
We're out of here before I leave a spot.